Hey guys, Tony Vicenda, and this week in youth ministry, we are talking about embracing technology and some of the mindset that I approach that with. And a big part of technology is social media. And so I'm taking the time to do our first interview ever for the blog with Adam Mclane of the Youth Cartel, who recently wrote a book with Marco on that subject. So Adam, how's it going today?
It's good. How are you doing, Tony?
Doing good. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and the Youth Cartel?
Sure. Well, my name, again, is Adam Mclane, and I live in beautiful San Diego, where I suffer for Jesus and do the best that I can. I work with an organization called the Youth Cartel, and our approach is actually fairly similar to yours. Our tagline is that we're instigating a revolution in youth ministry, and we do that by putting on events and producing resources like this book. Marco and I work together on Parents Guide to Social Media.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book and kind of some of the ideas and the thoughts that went into crafting it?
Yeah, I mean, there's two real defined types of books for parents about social media. On the one hand, you have the scare the crap out of parents approach about how media is bad and it's partnered with the devil, and you should keep your kids away from any sort of social media because it's somehow related to MTV, and that's scary. And then the other approach is typically very, very academic and talks just way too much about things that the parents aren't really thinking about. So what we try to do is kind of go kind of a different direction altogether and make the book be very non-alarmist, but highly informative, and really just focused on principles. These are principles that I've been teaching to parents for quite a long time, and they're really the same principles that I could have taught 10 years ago, and hopefully they'll be the same types of principles that you'll be able to teach to your groups 10 years from now. So
could you highlight one or two of those for us?
Well, sure. I mean, the most obvious one that every middle school or high schooler has to learn is that everything you post online is public. Even things that you don't think are public, like because I'm not friends with my mom on Facebook, she's not going to see what I say about her, or even just the way that technology works. You get sucked into this feeling that, oh, if it's a private message or if it's a personal message or a direct message, that it's never going to become public. And that's just a false assumption. That's not how the internet actually works. Everything that you think could be private could one day become public because of a hacker, or you could be silly with your account and leave it open, or the person you sent it to could share it. So it's just a very simple principle that we like to teach parents: to teach your kids everything they post online is public. Stuff like
and one of the things that I really enjoyed about yours was some of the stories that you told about how some of your expectations of technology had been reshaped through your own online experiences. So it wasn't just about how you deal with your kids with this, but what the impact of social media had been on your own life, and about how some of the things you post on your blog you realize can have wider implications, so that for a parent, it also really opens up a conversation about what social media should look like in their lives. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think I gave the example of maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I got very involved in local school politics, just being a concerned parent and pastor in the community, showing up at school board meetings. And then I would just blog my notes and thoughts of the meeting, and it wasn't really intended to be anything more than that. The thing that I learned was that very quickly, because it was a small town and the local newspaper wasn't covering what was really going on at the meetings, which was a lot of arguing and posturing and things like that, my blog attracted a whole new litany of attention from people that weren't youth workers. So like 9 posts out of 10 would be about youth ministry in my church, but that one post from every other week when I went to the school board meeting would be, read by people that sat on the Michigan Board of Education and all union leaders and so on and so forth. And then I started getting these people that were reading it that I had no idea who they were, and they would see me mowing the grass and they would stop me and go, "Hey, I read your blog the other day about ... that's happening in the schools. That's really interesting." And that just started getting me to think, like, man, even my own behavior online could negatively impact not just my own kids at school, but also our personal safety, because we were delving into very unpopular politics that was going on. Things like that as a parent you have to think about. Another one that's really easy off the top of your head is just location services. In all the smartphones right now, we want you to turn on all these location services. So when you post a picture on Instagram or whatever, it says you want to add this to your map. And then what you're doing is broadcasting to everyone where you live. And That could be really dangerous. So stuff like that, parents even need to think about, are you doing things that could be endangering your child? I think that's helpful for parents to know too.
If you had to give to parents one thing that you think parents most often underestimate about social media and one thing they kind of overestimate about social media, what would those two things be? So what's something they usually miss about social media that you think is an important point?
Well, I think a lot of it goes into understanding who your kid is. And so I think the simplest principle is that the personality flip-flop thing. So you have a lot of times you have an extroverted parent who has an introverted child, and they don't understand each other on a lot of different planes, but they really understand why their kid is so into connecting with other people through social media. Because to them, as an extrovert, that's a waste of time, and it doesn't feel right to them. But to an introvert, because they have the time to respond and to think and to be introspective, and they can kind of control that conversation, their kid is actually connecting with people in ways that they can't necessarily estimate. So it's an underestimated, an overestimation, I think, is that parents think social media is a complete waste of time. And I think that the research shows, and we cover in the book, is that there actually is a lot of productivity happening. So when it is on Facebook and they say, what are you doing? See, you have Facebook open, and they go, well, I'm working on my homework. They might really be working on their homework and chatting with a friend about their homework, or connecting with somebody they don't have an email address or a phone number to text, but they can connect with them on Facebook and find out, information about an assignment or something like that. I think that's something that parents drastically underestimate or overestimate because they think it's a time waste. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, Adam, I appreciate your time and thanks for being here today. Where can people connect with you online if they want to?
Sure. Well, there's everywhere. You can find me on my blog. It's adammclane.com. And then I'm on Twitter and Facebook. Very easy to find off my blog. So you can.
And if people want to, if you're in my parish, we're going to actually have copies of your books for sale. We're doing a night on social media coming up in a couple months for parents. But if other people want to buy your book, where can they pick it up at?
Yep, we can head to all the obvious places like Amazon or wherever else you buy books. But it's also available on the youthcartel.com on our website.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.